Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Radio. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And we have a lot on the docket today, and in a kind of more of a lighter, not for the people involved, and interesting, funny sense, we have New York City, something that's near and dear to your heart, I believe, Dr. Lopkin. Yep. Oh, well. Anyway, so they had the communist mayor. He was elected very recently, less than a year, and he, in part, was elected by very elites. Many of them, unfortunately, are Jewish, especially in the East Village, where 70.1 of the electorate voted for the commie anti-Semite, and probably anti-American. By the way, he banned fireworks he banned the firework display for the 250 in New York.
Yes, he did.
Brilliant. Like, don't you think maybe it would be a revenue generating event? But they don't care about revenue. Why would they?
But
anyway,
he doesn't have any clue how to generate revenue. I mean, that's been obvious. Yes.
So, among his other amazing initiatives, he decided to put a homeless... I don't think this guy's actually all that bright, because if 71% of the people that you're putting a homeless shelter in, that might not be the most politically astute move, but that's not my business. So anyway, he's putting a homeless shelter in an area of the East Village where over 71% of the people voted for him. And wouldn't you know, I know it's a shock to you, Dr. Lopkin, but the people are up in arms. That's never happened, has it?
No, of course not. We saw it all the time when they would put shelters in for the illegal immigrants, especially in New York. Nobody wants this stuff in their neighborhood. It's the NIMBY problem, not in my backyard. All of these things are great in theory, but as long as it doesn't actually affect me. And once it does, no, you can't do that here.
Yes, I agree. And it's very interesting just to we won't spend a lot of time on this particular issue, but it's kind of interesting to me when you look at the actual inverse relationship between Ivy League elite degrees and ability to think. Like, yeah, I mean, most people know, a high school history student would know that communism probably doesn't work. But these people, the elites, who they think they're just so above everyone else, think that communism is great. I'd say they're probably ill-informed, that's obvious, but they also know it's never really going to affect them. They've already made their money or inherited it oftentimes. So it's always great, and I think it's basically an ego boost that they can go to their parties and sip their Chardonnay and kind of review and discuss how enlightened they are, and the rest of the slugs are just so stupid. Am I not correct, Dr. Lopkin?
You are. I mean, the educational system has destroyed the ability of people to think for themselves. They're not trained to think in school. They're trained to memorize, regurgitate, and move on. And that's pretty much it. And unfortunately, we're seeing that problem more and more as people leave academia and suddenly realize they're not actually ready to get a job. They're not actually qualified to do anything anymore.
I would agree. It's very sad. I know that, when I was a young kid, maybe high school, maybe in college, whatever, Harvard, Yale, Penn. I mean, basically it was pipelines to an immediate job. Do you know what's very interesting, Dr. Lockham? The MBA class of um of Harvard, I'm talking of last year's, the last June, most of them are still looking for work. Surprise, surprise, because I wouldn't hire them. And I've known a couple of high level people that basically reflect my view that they'd rather have someone from, like, I don't know, central Connecticut, like a decent school. But these people they're not, they can't work with other people. It's like, hey, we got to get this done right now. It's a hostile environment. I need my safe space. Your thoughts, Dr. Lopkin?
Yeah, that's been a major problem for years in the job market. We're not trained to do work anymore. And
But
I
I
mean,
think it's
quite
worse in the
frankly,
Ivy League. But I think
oh, it's much worse in
okay.
the
There you go.
Ivy
Yeah.
League.
Sorry,
I
go
w-
ahead. Yep.
I would much rather at this point hire kids right out of high school who are hungry and willing to hustle than I would any MBA student, quite frankly, from any college. But
Well, Lopkin, I think you said this 2 years ago. We were talking about how long we've been doing this for. But I think you nailed it. And I am not patronizing you in any way. If I was someone hiring, if I had my own company like you do, I love your smorgasbord buffet approach. Get the necessary skills and go market yourself. I think that's the
yes,
future, probably. I go to a community college, pay almost, well, in Connecticut, nothing, and I don't know, get a certification in English, a certification, whatever it is, and be done in a year, and there you go. And I agree with you, because I think even non-prestigious schools, and I taught in one, I don't think it means shit.
no,
Sorry, I'm
it
just being honest.
it really doesn't. And academia knows this. There is actually a commercial running right now. I don't remember what school it's for. I believe it's one of the online colleges. And
Yeah.
they're actually talking about the fact that traditional academia is taking a beating. And they're showcasing their advantages by letting you choose your own courses and build your skills
Of
rather
course.
rather than forcing you to take what they think is necessary. And this whole thing is a major scam. I will tell you, I was annoyed. This happened to both of my kids at community college, but I just found out that Wesleyan University is pulling the same thing. In the middle of a degree program, they changed their requirements, forcing their students to pay for an extra year to complete and get their bachelor's degree.
What? What? I don't understand that. I don't understand it. You
Yeah,
mean after four? Explain it to me and our listeners.
Wesleyan has a four-year bachelor's degree
Got
program.
it. Yep.
Somebody, this is a friend of one of my sons, went in, took the program. 3 years in, he's going into his senior year. He's told, "Oh no, we changed the requirements.
Oh
You
my
don't
God!
you
Like
don't
a
have
scam.
yeah,
You
you
could sue
don't
them.
have the requirements to graduate when you thought you would. You're going to have to stay an extra year to get that degree." Now
Holy shit!
with the community college, I was tolerant because we weren't paying anything for it.
Yes.
Wesleyan University, I think that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I just said that
Yeah.
100%, and it's crazy. And do you know what's really funny? I watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm sure some of our listeners do as well. Hopefully, our show. And anyway, I had watched a really funny skit, and it was the college grad 1950, and they walk into the job interview. It's like, oh, college boy. Oh, is it cushy enough? Would you like some hors d'oeuvres? And then fast forward 2025. That's when I watched it, and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, leave your application there, and yeah, okay, we'll get back to you. And all right, take it easy.
Nope.
But that's pretty much how it is. So kind of interesting. And we, the prestigious mayor of New York is a communist and a Democrat. And it's very interesting how out of touch the whole party's become. And I actually find it fascinating because I remember like Scoop Jackson and even like Tip O'Neill. Yeah, he was kind of liberal, but he was sane. He was definitely sane. He'd have a beer with Reagan. But we have the new rep in the special election in New Jersey, just got in. And what is their big initiative? Pushing $25 an hour minimum wage, which equates to like $51,000, which is above, I believe, the median income of America. That shows that you know nothing, zero, about running a business, about what businesses require, or inflation or / basic economics. Am I correct, Dr. Lopkin?
You are. A $25 minimum wage
That's
is
insane.
It's unsustainable. All businesses are going to either cut their staff hours,
Or be done with their staff.
replace them with automation, or shut down altogether. And this is not theory. We saw this happen in Washington State, in Oregon, in California. When they jacked up minimum wage, businesses shut down. The only effect that raising the minimum wage has is to cut the number of jobs available.
Yes. And I think we're going to belabor this point, but I think it directly correlates to where these elite Democrats are being educated. They're obviously not being taught basic economics. Am I out of the ballpark here?
Well, they're obviously not being taught basic economics. I mean, remember, AOC graduated with a degree in economics, and
it's excellent.
and we've seen how little she understands economics.
I mean, BU is an expensive school. Shouldn't their accreditation be like scrutinized? I mean, if she graduated in art history, I'd say fine. But in economics,
and she has no idea what she's talking about. And this happens all the time because none of these folks have ever had a real job.
Never.
They've never run a business. They've never had to hire anybody. They don't understand the whole process. And I think this is the most important. None of them have ever had to do a profit and loss sheet.
Never.
Basic accounting. If they even knew that, forget about the economic theory. If they understood basic accounting, they would know how this is not going to work.
I would agree. And that's why it scares me, the even thought of them ever getting power. I think, Obama, okay, he wasn't the greatest, but it didn't destroy America. Well, in some ways it did. But yeah, I mean, economically, if Kamala ever got in, good luck. And speaking of the Democratic Party, you have the Southern Poverty Law Center, the investigation indictments on that organization. I found it spellbinding. I mean, who the hell knew? And even that Charlottesville, the whole good people, they basically funded it.
Yes. For those of our listeners who might not know what this situation is about, the Southern Poverty Law Center was dedicated to fighting hate and racism. Now, sounds great, doesn't it?
It sounds awesome. Sign me up. Yeah.
Except recent investigations have shown that they were funneling donations to hate groups and funding events so that they could go on the record opposing those events and trying to stop them. They were literally causing a problem so that they could get credit for solving it.
That would be like an oncologist, cancer doctor, basically funneling free cigarettes to the communities.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Amazing. But we'll see how that, and it's all the whole thing about when you really look at the Democratic Party, and I'm piling on, but I'm really not on purpose. It's really no better than the mafia. Actually, it's worse. The mafia
No,
actually.
I think you're giving far too little credit to the mafia
I
on
agree,
that.
actually, yeah. They've actually, actually protected some communities. But anyway, yeah,
Well,
not
that's actually why the mafia was founded, to protect communities against corrupt politicians.
yeah, well, they'd have their work all in front of them with the Democratic Party. But do you agree with my assertion that it's really a corrupt, because anytime you scratch the surface, it's just a hornet's nest of bullshit, the Democratic Party.
Oh, yes. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the more they spout off, the more you see they don't understand what's going on. I mean, two great examples just over the last week. Ilhan Omar gave a speech. She was railing against this law that Trump was using to deport people. And she's reading the speech. And very obviously, she didn't know what she was reading, or apparently doesn't know how to read Roman numerals.
No, 100%.
Because she stated the law was last used to deport Germans, Japanese, and Italian members of the American community back in World War XI.
Another
like,
genius.
you
Another
can't make this up. AOC just went on a rant about pollution, and they said she claimed the river was on fire because Deloitte was dumping their chemicals. Deloitte is an accounting and consulting firm.
I thought so, yeah.
They don't have anything to do with chemicals. We're pretty sure she meant DuPont, but this just goes to show they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, speaking of that, your representative, Rosa DeLoria, the 85-year-old with purple hair, I'm relatively non-judgmental, but you need to maybe check in and get some counseling. I mean, 85, what do you think? You're a teenager? But anyway, she was basically electrocuted by Lee Zeldin. Your thoughts on EPA issues? Not reading, again, unprepared. Just and the Democratic Party used to be the intellectual elites, blah blah blah. They position themselves as that, but in actuality, they are anything but. So she's didn't read the laws anyway. Go ahead, Dr. Lopkin.
Well, the statement in particular that really got her into trouble was when she told Lee Zeldin he doesn't have the right to say climate change does not exist. Now, you can argue whether climate change is real or not. There's facts on both sides. You can make a debate. But to claim somebody doesn't have the right to their opinion, this is called the First Amendment. And it's the first because it was the most important. Freedom of speech.
Yeah, but that's really not so extraordinary in terms of the Democratic playbook. They're the ones who want democracy. They redistrict, craziness. The list can go on 1,000%. They're totally against free speech. That's what communists do.
Well, they've been against free speech for quite a while. Remember, Joe Biden's administration clamped down on social media. Anybody who disagreed with what they said about coronavirus, oh, no, that can't be said. You have to block them. Anybody that disagreed or claimed, we actually had this on several occasions where we had to go head to head with YouTube because they took us down for what we had said about COVID and about the Biden administration. And we went through the appeals process, presented the facts, and won every time because we had the facts on our side. But the Democrats don't care about facts anymore. Remember, it was AOC that said, I would rather be morally right than factually correct.
I think that really articulates the Democratic position. That's probably the only thing she got right.
That is the Democratic position. And I mean, it's amazing when you see the spectrum in the Democrats, because you've got Ilhan Omar and you've got AOC on one side, and then you've got the party's voice of sanity, John Fetterman,
who had a stroke,
went off the other day on the New York Times, publicly canceling his subscription and railing against them because they are printing biased stories about what's going on in Iran, the only purpose of which is to try to make the Trump administration look bad, and they're getting their facts completely wrong. And Fetterman knows because he's getting the classified briefings.
Yeah, no, New York Times, okay, it's no better than the New York Post. At least it's entertaining. New York Times, it's funny because I know some lib friends that read they read it cover or page for page, and they think they're getting enlightened and getting all the, it's like, oh God, please. You'd be better off reading the National Enquirer about alien abductions.
And
But
actually, you said about the New York Post, I'm going to give you a little pushback on that, because over the last, I'm going to say decade, the New York Post has actually stepped up its game tremendously. They launched a second newspaper in Los Angeles, and they have gotten these stories right time after time. And I remember when they were taken over by News Corp. This is going back, I guess, the early 90s. And they ran an ad campaign saying, we're keeping the sizzle, but we're adding the steak. And over time, they really did. They actually became a paper capable of doing reporting, which they weren't for a long time.
don't you think you can draw an analogy to the New York Times and liberalism in general? Because, yeah, they've abandoned any sense of fair play. They don't even hide it anymore.
No,
I mean, Trump could have dollar bills raining from heaven and they'd say it's a pollution problem.
Oh, yes, but you're seeing the pushback now, because we have seen just over the last 3 weeks massive media layoffs from newspapers, magazines. Condé Nast just announced they are actually canceling several magazines. We've seen CNN's ratings plummet, MS Now's ratings plummet. People know these are not news sources anymore.
Something you bring an excellent point up. MSNBC, whatever the hell it's called now, and CNN. If they had a liberal bias but reported accurately, I think they would have decent ratings. But it's become such a clown show, and MSNBC is hopeless. But CNN somewhat trying to reel it back, but I think sometimes the train left the station.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the liberal mindset is so ingrained in these organizations. And this is not new. I actually have a book that is called Bias, and it was written by a former CBS News reporter who talked about how the liberal bias took over the newsroom at CBS. Now, this book came out in the 90s. So you're talking about events that went all the way back to the 80s.
Well, you look at what Laura O'Donnell did on 60 Minutes. I don't watch. I used to watch
Laura,
60
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. And I kind of agree with Trump. Like, she's reading the manifesto, like almost like giving it credence and attacking Trump in some ways. Yes.
And that's exactly what she was trying to do.
Of course.
Because the manifesto reflected what the media had been reporting. It was calling him a pedophile. It was calling him a rapist. And yet, there's all of these court cases. Not one of what was he found guilty of? And even these cases were, highly prejudicial. He was found guilty for slander. He was found guilty for real estate fraud. He has never been found guilty of being a rapist. He's never been found guilty of being a pedophile. And the more the stories come out, the more they get disproved. And I've said this over and over again. When people tell me, oh, yeah, Trump is hiding the Epstein files because
come on.
It's like, really? If the Epstein files had proof that Trump was involved in any of this,
there'd be so many leaks.
Never mind if he was actually guilty of rape or pedophilia. if he was even involved in this stuff. You really don't think Biden and Harris would have brought this up in the 2024 election?
It's common sense, but when you're drunk with liberal delusionism, that you basically don't see that. I'm sure a lot of liberals think Trump is the main antagonist to this whole thing.
Well, there have been a lot of people claiming, oh, the assassination attempt at the White House
Fake.
Correspondents' Dinner was staged.
I love that.
Just so he could prove a point and get his ballroom. Really,
Yeah,
but first of all, by the time the ballroom is completed, he's
out of office.
He's not gonna be the one using it.
Do you know what's funny to that point? I have a liberal friend. This is what they're getting fed is, okay, the ballroom won't get built till like 2028 when he's essentially gone, right? I mean, okay, he's not
Right.
gonna, but what do they think? Oh, he's gonna not step down from office. That's why he's building it. Or why would it be 2028? I mean, it's insane.
They've been saying this forever. They've been saying, oh, the whole no kings thing. It's like, oh no, he's not going to give up power. He's not going to step down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's funny. But speaking of the assassination attempt, things have consequences. Words have meaning. And when you call someone Hitler and I won't even take the time to go. When you call someone basically the devil himself, the devil reincarnated, and you have nutcases, but then this guy was a highly educated, I think he got teacher of the month or whatever. Not that that means anything, but anyway, this guy had everything going for him, and yet he obviously is going to jail forever, and his life is now in the shitter. But what are your thoughts about words do have consequences?
Yes, words absolutely have consequences. And it is absolutely amazing how often the Democrats have said, oh, yes, this is terrible. We need to tone down the rhetoric because we cannot support political violence. And that stand lasts for about 24 hours. And then they go back to raising the temperature again.
But let me interject one thing about that. And it's always in reaction to a psycho trying to assassinate Trump or Charlie Kirk. And then it goes away. So it doesn't just come out of thin air. It's just a reaction.
Oh, no, yes, it's always a reaction. And of course, they make these statements that have no basis in fact. Jasmine Crockett keeps saying, no, all of the violence is coming from the right. The left isn't violent. Really? Three attempted assassinations on President Trump. A successful assassination on Charlie Kirk. This is coming from the right? I don't think so.
And you know what's funny about Jasmine Crockett? Again, I saw this YouTube video that she's putting out, like, I think YouTube videos or whatever, soliciting offers to join a law firm. And she's so dumb, and this is typical of someone that's never had to work a day in their lives. Basically, he said, how would you like to do this, Lopkin? Go for a job and say, great, I'm really excited about this offer, but I just want to let you know I do have a family, I have a business on the side, so probably I won't be able to work a couple days a week. That's essentially what she said in her solicitation video. No, it was like, yes, and I want to join a law firm. I'm really skilled and blah blah blah. And but you do have to know that I'm writing a book, so there could be times. I don't think you say that in an interview. No, just go throwing it out there.
You know what? If I'm hiring somebody, if they tell me they're writing a book, I will encourage them to write the book. But you better be getting all your work done if I'm hiring you. The book comes second,
I think it's a red flag, even if they don't mention taking time off, because it suggests to me that you may not be their number one priority.
Maybe, maybe not. But here's the fact. Again, and remember, I've got 3 books under my
under my wing. You have your own company.
Right. But here's the thing. And it's a huge misconception among the public. Most people who get books published don't make enough to live on. You need the job first.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Especially, I think it's worse now than it was 30 years ago.
Oh,
quite
yes.
Well, Dr. Lopkin, that concludes another edition of Carnivore Radio. And I love when we were prepping for this show that when we're talking about the hierarchy of the subjects that we'll be discussing, go for it, Doctor.
Yeah, it boggles my mind at this point. We have been doing this show between the podcast and terrestrial radio for about 16 years or so. And I never imagined we would get to a point where an attempted assassination of the president wasn't the lead story.
There you go. Well, Dr. Lopkin, great show again. And our listeners can be a part of the show to some degree, can't they?
Yes, let us hear what you have to think. Go to xvadio.com/connect. Tell us your opinions. You can also contact us through the messages at the Carnivore Radio Facebook page. And of course, you can catch every episode of Carnivore Radio at xvadio.com, the Carnivore Radio website, Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech.
See you next week, Dr. Lopkin.
We'll see you then.